and you bid 4 diamonds. In fact, since your opponent with the takeout double is implying holding at least 3 or 4 diamonds, in some ways it's almost even makes it even more likely that we would have diamond shortness, right? So yeah, certainly a takeout double, nothing changes. I would say splinters are on. However, what if we get an overcall?
What if my shortness is in clubs?
Your shortness might be in clubs. That's true. We'll put that up there as a possibility. So technically, if we bid a suit at the 4 level, it's not really a double jump shift anymore, is it? Technically.
Just a quick stupid question, sorry you've already covered it. My partner did 1 spade, that means he has 5 spades. So when I go 4 diamonds, I'm saying I've got 4 of the spades and I want to pursue slam. Not slammers, because one of the things we talked about, and you'll see it on the handout, is that splinters is a limited, should be a limited bid. Okay.
So what I think is pretty standard, and what I would prefer to play, is that as long as your bid is still a jump, even if it's not a double jump, because you wouldn't want to bid 5 clubs or 5 diamonds, right? You wouldn't want to carry your side past 4 spades unnecessarily. So I would say that the splinter should still be on, as long as you are still jumping at least 1 level, even if you don't have.
So you would include 4 hearts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 hearts would be heart shortness. And in fact, I think you can still do this even if you get a preempt. Which, think about it, if partner is open to bidding and you have a hand that wants to be in game, you're probably just as likely to hear a preempt from the opponents as you are to hear a regular overcall, right? So, what if, let's make this bid 3 clubs. Now, not all of your splinters may be available now. So let's say you jump, let's start with this scenario first. Let's say you jump to 4 diamonds. Is that, or maybe better phrased, should that be a splinter?
It's a jump.
It's still a jump. Is it what we would we consider that an otherwise unnecessary jump? Like if you weren't using this bid? What would you do if you actually had a diamond suit? You would bid 3 diamonds, right? Because a new suit at the 3 level is 100% forcing. If you don't have a spade raise, but you have a hand that wants to be in game and you have a long diamond suit, your first bid's going to be 3 diamonds. Natural and forcing. 4 diamonds should never be a diamond suit here. That doesn't make any sense. How do you know partner doesn't have a club stopper? Why would you go flying past 3-0 if you didn't have a spade fit, right? That's the logic here. The logic is a bid of 4 diamonds to show diamonds is unnecessary. And probably not a good idea if you had a makeable, if 3-0 is your game. Remember that preempt doesn't have to be a great suit. All right, so I would take 4 diamonds as diamond shortness in support of spades. Now, this particular situation is a little bit different. Is 4 clubs a splinter?
No.
So here it's actually not. 4 clubs is just a cubit, right? You still have spade support. Cubit and clubs at the 4 level, you clearly want to be in at least 4 spades. And in fact, you probably, I had a practice hand with one of my groups the other day. We had a hand very much like this, where this is exactly how I wanted the auction to go. 1 spade, I preempted 3 clubs, and responder had a slam going hand with spade support. And I said, okay, well, this hand's too good to just bid 3 spades or 4 spades, we want you to Q-bid first. The Q-bid doesn't say anything about the club suit. You may or may not have an ace, have the ace of clubs, or singleton or voiding clubs, or you may not. All you are saying is, partner, I probably have slam interest, and we're definitely going to game in spades. So you can't always, you may have a splinter that you can't always show. So if you had diamond shortness or heart shortness on this auction, you'd be able to show it. Now, let's go back to the auction we had a moment ago. That wasn't a preempt. Let's just have them do a standard 2 club open.
Well, could you have only 3 spades?
For the Q-bid, yes. Yeah. Whenever you Q-bid openers major, yeah, you'd love to have 4-card support, but if you have 3-card support, it's sufficient for the Q-bid. Because at least you know you have a guaranteed 8-card fit, right? So if the auction looks like that, how would you take 4 clubs? Could 4 clubs be a splinter here? Here it could, right? Because 3 clubs would be your Q-bid. 3 clubs would be your partner, I have an invitational or better hand with spade support. 4 clubs is partner, I have 4 spades and club shortness. So you've got different kinds of raises you can make here, right? Very nice to be able to show these hand types. And at least if partner doesn't catch the splinter on this hand because the opponents have bid clubs, at least they will know, well, it can't be clubs, right? I don't know if that's a splinter or not, but I'm not passing. That's what we want your thinking to be here.
So partner's the one who would say alert if he thought it was a splinter.
Yeah.
So if you
Yeah, the easiest way to
say
remember
that,
you never alert your own bid.
Yeah.
See, easiest way to remember the alert structure.
so if he doesn't say it, he may be missing it.
Could be.
They called it a record.
They might, but clear. This one usually doesn't result in any sort of a problem because it's hopefully it's pretty obvious to everyone at the table that this can't be naturally, right?
Right.
So. Now another question we want to ask is, would a splinter be on by a passed hand? Remember we talked about that last week with our inverted minors. Do we play inverted minors on or off? We said, well, if you've already passed, in theory, you can't really make a forcing bid. I mean, you could, but. So if you had already passed and partner opened a spade in, say, 3rd seat, could you splinter when it came back around? You could.
Yeah.
It's not real common, but I think it would. No reason that it wouldn't retain the same meaning, right?
Right.
I mean, you may have a hand that you chose not to open, but even if partner opened a little bit on the light side, you may want to be in 4 spades. There aren't very many situations where you pass and then can say, hey, partner, I can force you to game. But sometimes you pick up just the right hand. So, and remember that while that 1 spade opening by your partner in 3rd seat could be light,
Yeah.
it could also be a very good hand. So is there any reason not to go ahead and tell the story of your hand? If the story of your hand is you've got a bunch of spades and a singleton and diamonds, and you want to be in 4 spades, even if partner opened a shade on the light side just because you've got great distribution. Remember also, your splinter promises 4, but couldn't you have 5-card support? And it would be like the magic hand, but maybe a little too good for that.
What about juries?
I mean, you could use your jury if you wanted. Again, as a passed hand, you might have some alternatives here. So you could not show your shortness, and you could ask partner, hey partner, do you have a full opening bid over there? And then jump to game if partner does. But if I feel like the hand belongs in game, if I feel like it's close enough, I would probably go ahead and show the shortness just in case partner has a slam try over there.
So if you did use Drury and he identified his hand as a standard opening hand, full opening hand, could you then splinter?
Like as a delayed bid?
Yeah, you're just,
I think that would be, I think that would be a good practice. But I'd be a little worried about it if I hadn't talked about it with partner. I don't think partner's going to get this wrong. This is the kind of thing that I would do. So let's say it went 2 clubs as Drury, and so partner does something other than 2 spades here, right? Since we're playing reverse rate.
Yeah.
All right. Let's say partner bids 2 hearts.
well, we play two-way, so I want to show 4 cards at two, so 2
Okay,
diamonds.
so for 2, yeah. All right. So, now the thing is, remember that one possibility if you're using Drury here is that you won't get to show your shortness, right? Because if partner has a full opener, sometimes they jump right to game, right? So that would be the drawback here. You may not get an opportunity to do what you want to do, right? And so let's say partner were to go back to 2 spades. Now that says I'm not interested in game, right? And I may have opened a little light. Do you still want to be in game? I don't know, you may. If you've got a distributional hand, if you've got 5 trumps. So if that happened, then you would say, okay, well, partner's clearly not interested in slam, so I don't need to tell partner or the opponents about my diamond shortness, right? So if that came up, so you could, like I said, you have options. We're going to come across a lot of hands that don't have to be bid just one way. And sometimes you have to decide, whether or not you want to remember, anything that you choose to disclose about your hand to your partner is also being made available to the opponents. And you have to decide sometimes with a bid, is this important enough for me that I want to show it to partner? Can you pull the one shut behind you too, because Paul's going to be starting his lecture. That you have to decide, if you decide, okay, I don't want to show this to partner because I don't want the opponents to know about it, and I don't think partner needs to know about it. I think I know where we belong. On the other hand, if you're going to probe and you're going to think about a slam or something like that, you want to convey the information to the partner, but understand that in the process you are also sharing with the opponents more information about your hand. Of course, you end up in good games and good slams. It's not going to matter what the opponents lead on those hands sometimes, but sometimes if you're in a borderline situation, you might influence the opening lead that the opponents make if you say a little too much, and maybe they find an opening lead that is damaging that they wouldn't otherwise find. So
Okay, so go back to your 2 heart rather than 2 spade. So then you could splinter.
yeah. So by the way, if it while we're on this, and I know we're not doing Drury, but 2 hearts here is natural. So you probably have 5 spades and 4 hearts. And probably not a complete piece of garbage, and you wouldn't bother showing your hearts having found a 9-card spade fit, right?
If
You look confused.
If you're a full opener and you don't have 4 hearts, what would your bid be?
If I'm a full opener, I don't have 4. So when I have a full opener on a Drury auction, I usually just make the most descriptive bid available. Sometimes I just go right to game, if that's all I'm interested in. But if I have a second suit, because on a Drury auction, remember, we're not completely forced to game. So I want to try and make a bid that's going to here. I will pass along more information about my hand, just to see if that that may influence how partner evaluates our prospects for game.
So if I didn't have 4 hearts, I would say 3 clubs instead?
Yeah, you could bid. I mean, if you had a club suit, if you're balanced, you could bid 2-no. That would just be natural.
Okay.
Say, okay, partner, I have a balanced hand. Well, what would you do with a 5-3-3-2-14 count? Right? Well, you could bid 2-no. You're not necessarily suggesting that you play in no trump because you found it. In fact, you almost certainly should not play in no trump because you have a 9-card spade fit, right? But
I guess what I didn't know before is that 2 heart bid actually says I have 4 hearts.
yeah. So when you play reverse Drury, any bid by that 3rd or 4th seat opener other than two of your major confirms a full opener.
Oh,
That-
yeah, I knew
yeah.
that,
Okay.
but the heart bid
Yeah.
requires 4 hearts, is what
Yes.
you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, you could be 5-4 or 5-5. Yeah, it's natural, totally natural. So our splinter's on by a passed hand. I would say, yeah, unlikely to come up, but if it does, I think that's what it has to be. If as a passed hand you can go flying up to the 4 level in a suit that you couldn't bid in first seat, this has got to be some kind of raise a partner suit, right?
So then could you bid Jacoby to no trump as a passed hand because your hand all
Well,
of a
no,
sudden-
that hand you can't have, right?
Okay.
You could have a hand that meets the splinter criteria of like 9 to 11, 12, probably 9 to 11, right? A 12-point hand, I hope you already opened, because I think all 12-point hands should be open. But your splinter as a passed hand would probably be like a shapely 9 to 11, right? So.
But if I didn't have a splinter and I had 13 or 14 points.
You can't,
after-
though. You already passed.
No, I mean dummy point. I'm talking about dummy points.
You still might. Well, if you had a hand that you still might have. Yeah, but in that case, you're using Drury, right? You're using your Drury.
I did that, and now you said you're full, and now I'm going to say, but I have now 13 reevaluated dummy points.
Your past hand can only get so much better.
Got it.
If it gets much better, then you should have opened it, right? That's what I say. So, yeah, there's only so much room for upgrading and downgrading here before you're thinking, gee, maybe I should have opened this thing. All right, now I do want to talk about something that Nina brought up in the first half because, and this is actually something that I'm kind of ambivalent about it. It's a judgment call, and it's one of these things that has been debated back and forth. The experts seem to have differing views on it. I don't feel very strongly one way or another. And that is the question of if your singleton is an ace or a king, should you splinter? Because some people will say, don't ever do it. Some people will say, always do it. And I'm in the camp of, I don't like doing it, but if I think it's the best description of my hand, I will. There's sort of an implication that when you splinter, that it's either a small singleton, maybe a queen or a jack, a lower honor, minimal wastage. And the thing is that, when you show partner a singleton, they're thinking as well, it's unlikely to be the ace because they are going to evaluate their hand based on the fact that shortness is probably not an ace or a king. Just because maybe we're not inclined to do that. It's kind of weird, because it's like, well, like let's say you splinter with a singleton king, and partner in their hand is looking at ace queen jack fourth of the suit that you splinter, right? So the holding is, let's say declare has something like ace queen jack little, and you're over here with king. And so if you splinter in that suit, partner's going to look at this and think, well, I've got some wastage here. I don't like my hand that much. And then maybe they sign off, right? And then you show up with king, where you could get the king unblocked, and then partner can play 3 more winners in that suit and might get some useful pitches from the dummy. So here, maybe it ends up being a more useful card than partner has envisioned. So, we could run into a situation where partner evaluates incorrectly. Whereas if you have a small singleton, then I think partner is correct not to get real excited about ace, queen, jack in a suit where you've shown shortness, right? So, there is a little bit of risk, I suppose, if you decide to splinter a singleton king or singleton ace. The other side of that is that, if we go back to kind of what we talked about at the very beginning of class, there is so much value in showing partner shortness and conveying that good Trump support along the way, that it may be a good thing to do most, if not all of the time. I mean, you just don't know what you're going to catch partner with in the suit you're splintering, right? So I remember, in fact, we've got this Colorado Springs Regional coming up next week, and the last time I was down there for a regional, one of the speakers was Chris Mull, who's a professional who lives somewhere in the southeast, I think.